speaks to the profound truth that God's selection is always intentional, never accidental. When God chooses a woman, He does so with purpose already woven into her existence. Before she takes her first breath, before her name is spoken on earth, it is already known in heaven. Nothing about her calling is random. Nothing about her journey is a mistake. She is crafted with intention, molded with precision, and positioned with divine foresight. God does not simply stumble upon her. He appoints her. He sets her apart. He equips her with qualities that may not always make sense to her, but are essential for the assignment placed upon her life. This intentional choosing is not based on human standards or qualifications. God does not search for perfection. He searches for willingness, humility, and a heart that can be shaped according to His will. A woman chosen by God might feel unprepared, unworthy, or unnoticed, yet in the spiritual realm, she carries a mark of divine distinction. Even when she questions her value, heaven affirms her. Even when others fail to see her potential, God sees the fullness of who she is becoming. This selection often reveals itself in subtle ways long before she understands the magnitude of her calling. She may find herself surviving situations that should have broken her, escaping dangers she didn't even perceive, or receiving unexpected strength in moments of deep weakness. These are not coincidences, they are signs of divine intention at work. God surrounds her with protection, not because she is fragile, but because her purpose is powerful. The enemy recognizes that power even when she does not, and God's protection ensures that nothing can sabotage what He has ordained. God's intentional choosing also means He equips her with experiences that shape her spirit. The difficulties she faces are not punishments, they are preparation. He allows her to walk through seasons that build resilience, compassion, and spiritual insight. A chosen woman often feels set apart, not because she is better than others, but because her path requires a different kind of strength. She is refined through trials, elevated through obedience, and strengthened through faith. Her journey is unique because her assignment is unique. This intentional process cultivates qualities within her: wisdom, patience, discernment that cannot be produced by comfort alone. When God chooses a woman, He surrounds her with divine covering. This covering is not always visible, but it is always present. It shields her from harm, redirects her steps, and protects her destiny from premature destruction. She might not understand why certain relationships ended, why certain opportunities closed, or why certain battles arose. But over time, she begins to see the invisible hand guiding her. Every shut door was a safeguard. Every delay was strategic. Every detour was intentional. God's protection is woven into every chapter of her life, ensuring that she arrives exactly where He needs her to be. A chosen woman is not simply lucky, she is divinely orchestrated, appointed, and continuously held in the hands of a God who never acts by accident. A chosen woman carries a spiritual distinction that often sets her apart long before she is aware of it. This distinction is not about outward appearance, status, or the approval of people. It is something woven deep within her spirit, an invisible mark that heaven recognizes and the spiritual realm responds to. Even in her earliest years, she may feel different from others, not in a prideful way, but with a quiet sense that her path is not like everyone else's. She might not fully understand why she feels drawn toward deeper things, why her heart is sensitive to God's voice, or why certain environments never seem to fit her soul. This distinction is not something she earns. It is something God places on her. It is the signature of His calling and His intentional design. Because of this spiritual distinction, a chosen woman often experiences life differently. She may feel things more deeply, sense dangers that others overlook, or carry a burden for righteousness that others dismiss. She may find herself pulled away from influences that would delay her spiritual growth. She may notice that when she tries to blend in, something inside her resists, almost as if her spirit refuses to shrink to fit the world's expectations. This is because a chosen woman is not created to be ordinary. Her spirit recognizes divine assignments, even when her mind does not fully comprehend them. There is a sensitivity in her soul that makes her responsive to God's whispers and protective of her spiritual environment. This distinction often reveals itself through the battles she faces. A chosen woman may wonder why her life has been filled with more challenges, more resistance, or more spiritual attacks than others around her. But the weight she carries is a direct reflection of the calling that rests upon her. The enemy does not waste energy on those who pose no threat. He targets the ones who carry purpose, influence, and the potential to impact generations. A chosen woman might not understand the intensity of her warfare, but her spirit carries authority, and that authority draws opposition. Yet even in this, her distinction shows she survives what others could not. She rises from situations that should have defeated her. She walks out of storms with her faith intact and her heart still turned toward God. This resilience is not natural. It is spiritual evidence of the distinction on her life. Another sign of this distinction is the way God guides her differently. Other people may rely on their own strength or understanding, but a chosen woman is repeatedly brought back to divine dependence. Doors that she forces open do not satisfy. Paths she tries to take without God crumble quickly. It is as if heaven gently redirects her every time she steps outside the boundaries of her purpose. She may experience unusual favor in places where she did nothing to earn it, or sudden restlessness in situations that are not aligned with her destiny. Her spirit knows when something is wrong long before her mind figures it out. This is because God's hand is upon her, shaping her into a vessel of influence, purity, and purpose. Her distinction is not meant to isolate her. It is meant to prepare her, elevate her, and align her with the calling God has placed upon her life. Protection is often misunderstood as the absence of hardship. But in the life of a woman chosen by God, it becomes clear that divine protection is proven through the battle she survives, not the ones she avoids. A chosen woman does not walk through life untouched by adversity. She walks through adversity untouched by defeat. Every challenge she encounters carries the fingerprints of God's presence. Even when the battle feels overwhelming, her survival becomes undeniable evidence that she is covered, shielded, and upheld by a force far greater than anything rising against her. Protection for her is not a promise that storms will never come. It is the assurance that the storm will never consume her. What tries to break her becomes what God uses to build her. What comes to destroy her becomes what God turns into testimony. A woman chosen by God often faces battles that seem disproportionate to her circumstances. She may experience pressures, setbacks, and spiritual resistance that do not match her outward position. This is because her destiny is weighty, and the enemy recognizes what she is called to carry. But even in the midst of fierce attacks, there is always a divine limit placed upon what can touch her life. She may be pressed, but she will not be crushed. She may be shaken, but she will not be overtaken. She may walk through fire, but she emerges without the smell of smoke. Her protection is not always visible, but it is always present, hovering, surrounding, and intervening at the exact moment she needs it. Many times, she realizes in hindsight that God prevented things she never knew were coming. The danger she avoided, the opportunities she lost, the people who left her, all become clearer with time as part of His protective design. God's protection also manifests in the strength He gives her during the battle. A chosen woman does not rely on her own might. She is sustained by divine strength that appears precisely when her natural strength fails. In her weakness, she experiences the supernatural empowerment that allows her to endure with dignity and rise with resilience. She is protected not only externally, but internally. Her mind is guarded against collapse. Her heart is shielded against bitterness. Her hope is preserved even when circumstances suggest despair. This inner protection is often the most powerful evidence of God's hand on her life. Where others would have broken, she remains standing. Where others would have surrendered, she continues forward. Her endurance is not human, it is heaven-backed. Another sign of divine protection is the way God reroutes her life in moments of danger or misalignment. She may not understand why certain relationships end abruptly, why certain opportunities close suddenly, why certain paths never open for her. But every redirection is an act of protection disguised as disappointment. God sees what she cannot see. He knows the traps she has not encountered, the betrayals she has not discovered, and the losses she has not foreseen. So He intervenes, sometimes gently and sometimes drastically, to keep her aligned with His purpose and shielded from harm. Over time, she begins to recognize that every battle survived, every door closed, and every escape from what could have destroyed her. Not random events, but divine proofs that God has been protecting her all along. God whispers identity and strength into the hearts of His daughters, especially in seasons of uncertainty, because He knows that a chosen woman often battles the loudest voices of doubt when she is closest to her purpose. These whispers are not always dramatic or loud. They come gently, quietly, deeply. Yet they carry the power to shift her entire direction. When her heart feels overwhelmed, when her mind is clouded by confusion, when life shakes the very foundation she stands on, God speaks to her spirit in ways she cannot explain but cannot deny. He reminds her of who she is, even when she struggles to believe it. He affirms her worth, even when circumstances challenge it. He guides her through inner promptings, sudden peace, or unexpected clarity that feels too divine to be coincidence. These whispers become the compass that leads her through seasons where logic fails and only faith remains. A chosen woman is often placed in environments that stretch her, refine her, and force her to rely on God more than ever before. During such times, she may feel alone, misunderstood, or unsure of her next step, but it is in these very moments that God draws nearest to her. He does not shout over her storms. He speaks within them. His voice is like a quiet anchor, holding her steady when the winds of life threaten to pull her off course. Through scripture, through prayer, through a gentle stirring in her spirit, he reminds her that she is stronger than she believes because his strength is within her. She begins to notice that every time she feels like breaking, something inside her refuses to give up. That resilience is his voice. That inner push is his whisper. That unexplainable strength is his presence fortifying her soul. These divine whispers also shape her identity. A chosen woman may have been labeled by people, weighed down by past mistakes, or misunderstood by those around her, but God consistently speaks a different truth over her life. He calls her beloved when others call her broken. He calls her victorious when her circumstances call her defeated. He calls her chosen when her past tries to tell her she is unworthy. Over time, his voice becomes the loudest voice in her life, not because it shouts, but because it consistently brings peace, assurance, and purpose. She begins to see herself through his eyes, not as a product of her struggles, but as a masterpiece shaped through them. This identity becomes her foundation, allowing her to walk with confidence, not rooted in her abilities, but in his affirmation. God also uses these whispers to direct her steps. A chosen woman may experience moments when she feels compelled to move, stay, wait, or let go without fully understanding why. These inner nudges are God steering her away from danger, positioning her for opportunity, or preparing her for transformation. She learns over time that obeying these whispers opens doors no human could open and protects her from paths that would have delayed her destiny. These divine impressions teach her to walk not by sight, but by faith, trusting that God is not only speaking to her, but leading her with intentional love. Through every season, whether bright or uncertain, his whispers become her strength, her identity, and her guidance, shaping her into the woman she is destined to become under his hand. The signs of being chosen are not rooted in what the world celebrates. They are rooted in purpose, resilience, and divine alignment that shape a woman from the inside out. A woman chosen by God often discovers that her life follows a different rhythm, a sacred rhythm directed by his hand rather than the expectations of people. She may not have the applause of the crowd, but she carries the approval of heaven. She may not always feel strong, but she moves with a strength that comes from a deeper place. And she may not fully see the road ahead, but she walks with an inner assurance that her steps are ordered. Divine alignment begins to unfold in her life in ways that cannot be explained through logic alone. Certain doors open at precisely the right time. Certain connections appear without effort. Certain opportunities arrive after seasons of disappointment. These patterns are not accidental. They reveal that her life is being guided toward a purpose bigger than herself. Resilience also becomes one of the defining signs of a chosen woman. She does not crumble permanently under the weight of hardship. She may bend, but she does not break. She may cry, but she does not quit. Every setback becomes a setup for a deeper level of wisdom. Every wound becomes a place where God pours strength. Every disappointment becomes a tool the Lord uses to prepare her character for the responsibilities of her destiny. A woman chosen by God often realizes that the strength she carries is not something she learned from comfort, but something she learned from survival. She discovers that the things meant to destroy her end up sharpening her. The more she endures, the more she grows. The more the enemy tries to silence her, the louder her purpose becomes. Resilience becomes her testimony, proof that God has equipped her with a fortitude that cannot be stolen or shaken. Purpose is another unmistakable sign. Even when she is unsure of her direction, there is a pull in her spirit towards something greater. She may not have the full picture, but she senses that her life is meant to make an impact. She may not know the details of her assignment, but she feels an internal fire that refuses to burn out. This sense of calling becomes stronger the more she leans into God. She begins to notice that her gifts make room for her. Her passion aligns with her spiritual identity, and her experiences, both painful and joyful, prepare her for the work God has placed before her. Purpose becomes the quiet but powerful force that keeps her moving forward when her circumstances tempt her to stop. Divine alignment also means that God removes what does not belong in her life. A chosen woman may face unexpected separations, sudden shifts, or abrupt endings, not because she is rejected, but because she is being redirected. God makes room for what aligns with her destiny by clearing away what does not. And over time, she learns to trust that every change, every transition, and every uncomfortable shift is part of a larger plan designed to position her exactly where she needs to be. Through it all, she realizes that the signs of being chosen are woven through every season of her life, guiding her, shaping her, and preparing her for the destiny God has ordained for her.